All right, Todd Howard did an interview recently talking about Elder Scrolls 6 and some updates. I didn't get to watch it, so we're going to watch it now.
Since we're on the topic of Elder Scrolls 6, what can you tell me about
Nothing.
where it's at?
I've never heard of it.
Lessons you've learned from Starfield.
Pretend we never announced that.
Elder Scrolls 6 has an impossible task. Let's just get this out of the way really quick. To live up to what Skyrim did will be phenomenal if it could even be, it's even going to be attempted. The game has lived on for a decade plus and still gets modded, has an active community to this day. There's not many things that could really do the immersive world and atmosphere that game has captured. And I don't think, again, I don't think they're going to be able to do exactly that again. And considering where Starfield landed out, it is what it is. But, let's see. Yeah.
IGN's here at Bethesda Game Studios, and I'm with studio head and creative director Todd Howard. Everyone knows you, and it is really nice to catch up with you on the Starfield updates, what's happening with Fallout 76, and everything else with Bethesda Games. So I guess I want to kick things off. Folks know what's up with the Starfield updates now, but take me through how the team got there with thinking of how to update Starfield. The game has changed. We don't do expansion packs necessarily anymore. There's still DLC, but you have intermittent updates and all that. So a lot of quality of life changes, extra quests and all that. So take me through the journey of determining how to update Starfield since launch.
Yeah, it's a great question because there's so much in the game. There's kind of so much that we could do, so much the team wants to do, so much the fans want. I think as we went into sort of, as we call it, year 2, there were the creations thing and the faction quests with Trackers Alliance that we have been...
I just don't think... I think they should continue working on it for the people who like it, show that they could actually make the game at least somewhat fun. But at this point, the game, through most gamers' minds, has been kind of a bust. Especially people were excited about it. Now I'm going to be real. I saw Starfield and it never interested me. And I like Bethesda. I do like some of their games. But it just felt like a worse Fallout game. When I first saw it, I was like, there's nothing that's really separating it for me that drew me in personally. And I'd rather be playing Fallout. I'm going to be honest. Like, the jetpack seemed cool, but it didn't seem like that was like... I don't know, it just didn't seem like it was enough, really, That's just me personally. And then, it came out, and it did disappoint a lot of people. Didn't really capture, what people were really hoping for. Pretty big disappointment. I think even the modding scene has left it. I didn't even bother playing it because, I was just like, I'd rather just play Fallout, where the game has been made over time. There's a huge modding scene for it, and you can actually break it down to whatever gameplay you want at this point, But yeah, I just don't really see how you would really bring it back at this point. I think even some people, I think I saw some posts of somebody stating that if you didn't like Starfield before, you wouldn't this is going to be a game changer. But, obviously they should at least keep it in a better spot because people, it helps build reputation when you bring back a game to at least being fun and enjoyable and playable. But yeah, for me, I don't really see I don't really see them putting a ton of more resources into this after this.
Working on and finding out the right way to kind of bundle those together. And then we have all the other features we want to do, from the Elder gameplay to ship modules to other things. And then we start looking at, well, you could kind of chop that.
But they may want to come back after community sentiment has been at a pretty all-time low. So
that up and release them like this. But, is there a collective way we can kind of do these things as one? And then you have the story with Terran Armada. And that really stemmed from changing the game more in a meta way, the way you play it over many, many hours, where it's 10 or 100, as opposed to just having a quest line that you do and then you're done.
I think a frequent topic that comes up in conversation talking about the trajectory of Starfield is how you determine how you communicate with your community, giving them what they want, but also doing something that's still true to y'all's vision with Starfield. So how do you balance that when you have millions of players ask for a million different things, but then, you know, you have limitations, you have things that you want to put in. So what's the relationship been like with folks who have stuck with Starfield since launch?
Yeah, look, we've done a whole bunch of updates since launch, but then we clearly have gone through a period where we were kind of quieter as we were putting all this content together, because we felt that, like, you know, there'll be a good time to announce it all at once, but that also, it does kind of feel a little bad for us where you want to tell them, like, this is what we're doing. But we sort of, like, you know, breadcrumbed, hey, we're working on stuff. That only goes so far. Our community wants to know when we're really talking about it when it's releasing, to make sure those moments for everybody playing are as exciting as possible, as informative as possible. So I guess we're looking.
Because I feel like sometimes the surprise stuff kind of works against you. Like, I was excited for the Cyberpunk update, and then it was just like some new car, you know, just some extra new cars that came in. The car colors were a really nice touch. I do like that you could change colors in the game now, but yeah. Some people get a little bit excited and are pretty disappointed when you end up dropping like a kind of a not as much as they wanted. But I mean, this one was pretty big from what I heard. But,
good community too for feedback.
I don't think it's going to bring back a lot of
what do you want to hear from us, when,
deniers.
how. It's something we're still, I say we wrestle with it, when to talk about something.
Yeah, I want to talk about the PS5 port, because it's been, at this point, 2.5 years since Starfield's initial launch. So, like, why now? Was it technical limitations? Is there anything you could share on the business side that may have been a hurdle to get to a PS5 port? Granted that, you know, Bethesda is under the Xbox banner.
Sure.
So is there anything you could share in terms of how you finally got to a PS5 port after all this time?
Well, I think after the game came out, it was obviously a question. It was a question in the audience. It was a question for us. We've always wanted to do it. I would say that. We have a great relationship with PlayStation. You know, we've been there for a long time with our games. So I think with this one, we knew it would be a matter of time. We've been working on it for a while.
It just looks so empty, too. That's kind of the thing with Starfield. It just looked like kind of like, okay, well, you're just like you know, you just go to space station to space station, and then that's it. The world doesn't really look too alive. Like, the space combat could help, but yeah, it just looks kind of like, you know, and I heard that was a complaint, that it's just like very empty and it feels kind of lifeless in some ways. Which, I mean, you know, that's space. That's what they always say. Oh, space is very boring, you know. But I think you can make space really interesting. I mean, look at Fallout. Like, they have a lot of wacky little things and places that you'll visit in between their world that try to make the world really feel alive. And the atmosphere really builds into that. This crazy, you know, desperate world of desperate world of all these raiders and people who've gone through the fallout of, you know, the fallout of nuclear waste. So they're all kind of zany and out there, and everyone's just kind of fucking loco, for crazy, for, you know, lack of a better term. So yeah, there's a lot of character in that, and this one is just kind of like, I mean, you know, they're all just like, even the enemies kind of look the same-ish. It just looks like so blunt.
Still maintained a close relationship. We're still shipping a lot on PlayStation. People forget, like with Fallout 76, the other updates, Skyrim, we're still doing a lot of PlayStation work, even though Starfield wasn't there. So we're just, I tell you
like,
what,
that's
so excited
good to have, like, these type of monsters. You know, it might have been good to have some alien race that you could also fight against, that you're also friendly with. I don't know if they have it, but from what I've seen, it's just space raiders and space monsters. You know?
So on the topic of the relationship with Xbox and being under that banner, you know, recent changes, drastic changes, you know, with Phil Spencer retiring, Asha Sharma taking over. What can you tell me about your relationship so far?
And I guess you could do a good job with raiders. You could make them really intricate, really interesting. And them do some really cool, crazy stuff with like some tech. Maybe they have these psychic abilities, it looks like, that you have, or whatever abilities those were, that really differentiate them. But yeah, from what I've seen, they're just kind of like, you know, again, the characteristics look kind of bland on them, and from what I've seen, you know, it's just nothing that's really going to grab people.
With the new leadership, I know Matt Booty's still there, so
my personal opinion, if you're a Star fan,
but how are you feeling about this shift in Xbox leadership moving forward?
Well, look, I'm of two minds, right? I'm excited whenever there's new things and where they're going in the future with the hardware. I've known about that for a while and all the plans. I will say I'm sad to see Phil go. He's a good friend. He's one of the key reasons that we've been, a large part of Xbox, not just after like them acquiring us, but even before that. You could see Xbox kind of being our lead platform a lot of the time. And I wish people knew, I've sat in so many meetings watching Phil Spencer and Matt Booty look at games, not just anybody.
The Xbox buyouts recently have been pretty crazy. They've both been, it's been interesting, I'll just say that. Blizzard, it seems to have worked out. Blizzard has been on a fucking roll recently. They are going so hard that, but they have to be honest, because general fan and criticism for them was really bad. So it's good that they're going as hard as they can, and eventually, even the naysayers that still have a grudge against them would be kind of hard pressed to deny that they have a lot of success and are doing pretty well. They honestly have to keep it going, because again, the feedback was really low for them for quite a long time. That they need a lot of wins for a long time for people to really turn around and be like, okay, Blizzard is fucking here. And I do believe, honestly, I'm already kind of in that camp that Blizzard is here. They are going hard. They are absolutely churning out some good shit. And when Diablo is their new expansion, I think will be good. I'm going to put my neck out there. I think it will be good. What they're really missing in Diablo 4 is more endgame. But yeah, these Xbox buyouts have been kind of a mixed bag. From what I've heard, if I remember correctly, some studios have shut down that, are pretty sad to see go. I think Arcane, if I'm mistaken, but it is kind of sad to see a lot of these studios end up going. The Xbox bought out. Yep. Okay, I was right. Arcane shut down on May 7th, which was known for Prey. Pretty sad. Pretty sad. Yeah, they made Dishonored, they made Deathloop, Prey. Dishonored is probably going to be the biggest hit, obviously. So, yeah, it does suck that, Arcane was shut down under Xbox banner. So it is a mixed bag. It is a mixed bag. It's not all good. Definitely not. This could be good. It looks like they want Bethesda to succeed, though, because that's a big cash cow. Skyrim, their games are enormous. Bethesda is well loved, so I think the ones that they see, success in, they're going to be flooding to make work. So it's not all been negative,
wanting
but
to protect the creative vision and find a path for success. How do we protect this? How do we make it successful? And I've seen them do that behind closed doors so many times, and I don't think they get the credit for it that they deserve. They're, great game leaders, and Asha's coming in. Everybody thinks so highly of her, so we're excited about the future.
Now, you mentioned something about hardware, so I gotta press you on it. Of course, I'm not gonna be getting any answers about what the next console looks like or anything.
I think they were talking about some stuff today, actually.
Yeah. As we're recording this, GDC is happening. I'm seeing things here and there, unfortunately.
Literally like an hour ago.
Yeah. So I'm not there right now because I'm out here, but I guess a more broad question is, as you are in the process of developing Elder Scrolls 6 and you're continuing to update Starfield, what is it about a next gen console do you actually need and or want?
That's a great question. I think, look, we've been fortunate. We see that stuff really, really early.
Yeah. I think it's silly that they need a next gen console at this point. I think anything the consoles are able to do right now are pretty much what the next consoles are going to be able to do. Just slightly more. The only thing is maybe better CPU, so they can have more interior things for the engine, or it can run games a bit better, obviously. But I feel like the consoles nowadays, in my personal opinion, have enough power to do what you want them to do. So it's I don't know if the next generation is going to really. It's not going to be really necessary, in my opinion. I don't know if the next consoles are really going to be necessary to put out what they have envisioned. Maybe they could have more models on screen, but graphically it's already there. And I guess if you're willing to take the hit a little bit, for the graphics, you could even have way more models on the screen. But there's plenty of games who have plenty of models on screen, a decent amount, and still look, graphically amazing. Like, again, Cyberpunk. So, I don't know, man. I think it's almost kind of like, I don't know if Skyrim even nearly needs, or, Bethesda, I mean, whatever the fuck they're going to call it. I forgot the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be called. It may not necessarily need it.
And it's tricky for, we'll say, console manufacturers, wherever they are. They have to take a very long view of development when you sort of tape out on a chip.
But maybe he's not saying that, we need it for the next.
You call that timing and cost, and then what does it look like 5 or 10 years after that? So it's really, really tricky kind of thing to maneuver, both technically and business-wise, when anyone is making a system like that, where you're gonna lock it down. Our approach has always been, and because fortunately we've had such a PC audience, and we're doing it more and more going forward, which is to cast a wide net technically, to both take advantage of the very high end, but allow the game to scale down and handle. You look at handhelds now, you look at how popular those are becoming, and I think you're gonna see more of that and lower powered devices, lower powered where, say you're traveling and you wanna, underclock that thing in a certain way. We want our games to be able to handle that. So I think more than anything, when we look forward, we're less about, we are gonna make the game and tie it to this spec, which we would sometimes do in the past. So particularly in the 360 area per se, where you might be really constrained. Now they're powerful enough, and you're looking at those different scopes of things where instead of constraining ourselves, we're widening it. Does that make sense?
And so on the question of tech also, we talk about still sticking with creation. Creation Engine 2 with Starfield, but moving to a third iteration of the engine with Elder Scrolls 6.
Yes,
what are the things that you need out of a third iteration of creation as you are building a new game for it?
Gosh, I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, look, you get your whiz-bang rendering shiny pixel stuff that everyone would expect. And I think the change to Creation Engine 2 from where we were for Starfield was such an, upheaval for what we were doing. We felt coming out of that we could have managed that better. So going into Creation Engine 3, I can't say enough about our tech staff and how they've handled that transition so that we can still be making a game while that is going on. I think it's, again, as we look at future tech, I already mentioned casting a pretty wide net and scaling way up and also down. I think there are things outside of the rendering that you would expect as it comes to data systems, how our worlds load, how they load content and present things of high detail close to the camera without spoiling it, So there's some foundational things that we felt we wanted to do.
Now, a lot of people are disappointed with them sticking with Creation Engine. I'm of the idea that, they are well built in their RPGs. Sticking with Creation Engine isn't necessarily bad. However, moving to Creation Engine 3 would be the bare minimum. So they need to take a look at what caused Starfield to fail, which admittedly was maybe more of like the execution of the things, because from the idea of it's not so bad. It's just all the gameplay, and obviously the story from what I heard is very lackluster. I'm probably butchering it, all speculation, because I haven't played the game and I just won't, because it doesn't interest me in the bare minimum, in the very least, I should say. But they should really take a look and try to, it just feels like almost when I saw the game, like it was more of the same thing. So they really need to, like, when they go to Creation Engine 3, feel like how they can elevate their gameplay and still keep that RPG mechanics deep in, because that's what really Creation Engine is really good for, is having that RPG mechanics really built in well. From what I've read, but so if they're gonna stick with it, they really need to figure out how they can push it to the next level, which again is like such a hard task, because whatever they put out next has to last them so long.
Do the things we're doing in the future.
How many times has Skyrim been resold? Okay, and some of the it sucks is every time they fucking resell it, breaks all my mods, because I still play Skyrim with like 200 mods plus at this point. Because I really like all the different things that you can do with it. You know, I haven't even played the new or I should say the remake of Oblivion, because I just really like Skyrim, because the modders who have worked on it have so many different there's like so many different mods out there, to the point that it's like completely a different game. You know, every time you could play it, it's a probably like a choose your own adventure. That's what kind of gets me into the game, I'm gonna be honest. And you know, there's people who've made like full DLCs at this point for the game. Really in depth, really good gameplay for some of them. Well, you know, it's kind of dated because of the engine. But I should say really good interactive ideas that really make you get immersed in their type of world, but like really well made to get the best out of they can from the gameplay of the engine. And there's so many different ways that you can really build out your character with these mods. Um, that could really extend the gameplay for far and beyond. Again, it's very limited because of the engine, but these modders had worked to make that gameplay very refined and fun, and different ideas for like perks and things like that, or skills that keep the game alive. Spells, so many different tons of spells that people have created and worked really hard to make really fun and different. So yeah, I don't whatever they put out, it's gotta last a long time and have people want to build these things or these mods for years to come.
And then obviously, like I said, all of the sort of graphics rendering things. But I think a lot of gamers, they were reacting what's on the screen, as they should, but a lot of people think that is engine. So like the actual...
But yeah, that's why I didn't play Oblivion, because there just isn't the modding team that Skyrim has, honestly. Our modding love, I guess, I don't know. It's just so massive at this point.
Rendering, like the pixel shaders and everything that's happening, that's actually a smaller part of an engine than people think. The engine deals with data structures and loading and AI and save states and platform. Like all of these things that go into an engine are far more than just the final frame.
Sure. I guess to a little bit more specific, talking about Starfield, with the free lanes update, interconnecting planets, kind of broadening the scope between planets. I know that was one of the big criticisms of the original release of Starfield, is that some players felt like there was a lack of exploration in space, and free lanes kind of is that answer to that question. Was that like an initial limitation of the tech, or is it just took time to figure out how to weave those things together? So take me behind a little bit about the technical aspect of creating free lanes for the free lanes update with Starfield.
Yeah, it was interesting. Obviously, if you look at Starfield, I think people who play it know, like when you're in a system, like around a star, all that stuff is there. And we had to make a decision in terms of like, where's the gameplay, right? So you jump into a system, flying through empty space, how much are we making that fun versus where you jump in, and then same thing landing on a planet. How are we making that fun? And so we more sort of made a decision of let's focus on the area you jump in and make that like ship experience the best it could be. But obviously, when you have a spaceship, you're like, well, I want to fly to that planet. I want to fly. Let's take that moment of like just even like flying around.
That's
the
a
moon.
big thing about Skyrim. Is these Bethesda game, Fallout, all these different little areas that you're like, oh, what's in that cave? Oh, this courier came up to me and just gave me a map to go to whatever. I want to go see where that leads. I kind of want to go on that quest. Oh, there's like these people getting mugged, and one of them came up to me and I can stop it. Or, this one person is getting hassled and I have to, in some way, by like the town guards, maybe I can come up and see what's going on and talk to them. That level of intrigue that's like constantly there, the level one to explore all these different like caves of like, maybe there's like this giant statue that kind of looks really crazy or intimidating, for the character. You're like, whoa, look at that thing. It thing's gigantic in scale compared to me. I want to see where this leads. I want to go in that cave that it's attached to, or I didn't say cave, temple, or whatever the fuck it's attached to. So yeah, that level of intrigue. And again, Starfield just didn't really capture that. And I didn't even play it, obviously. But I watched a bit of gameplay, but just looking at it, I was just like, oh, man, it just looks so flat.
And we noticed mods, people doing it, like, well, clearly the game can do it. So we sort of started with, you want in your spaceship to sort of fly around the planet. And so it was started there. Like, we're gonna have this mode where you're gonna go fast. And then it was, okay, well, that needs to have some gameplay. You know, what would you expect? And that's where you got into all of the systems that Free Lanes is. And it still is tricky in finding that balance of, well, it's empty space. If you're running into things all the time, then it doesn't feel like space. It starts feeling like an amusement park of just, there's stuff everywhere. So I think team's done great with the system in terms of, you know, the radar beeping and telling you, hey, there's something there to go find. So it's kind of up to you. Dealing with autopilot. It's fun. Actually, I have a lot of fun going into that mode and then getting up. So getting up out of my seat, and then the ship is just cruising at, you know, these crazy speeds through space, but I'm still able to, like, we had talked about that. I want to walk around my ship. I want to talk to the other characters. I want to do all these things in that mode. So yeah, it came out well.
One of the things I love picking the brain of people who've worked on RPGs for so long. I had a conversation with Leonard Boyarsky leading up to Outer Worlds 2 about how they think of RPG systems and creating friction for the player. I know, like, I still say Morrowind is one of my favorite RPGs to this day, because I look back on how much I had to, like, figure things out for myself. There's, like, a lot of friction that I enjoyed working, but he had some interesting answers, and I kind of want to throw that question to you as well, like, especially.
I couldn't get into Skyrim, to Morrowind nowadays. It's just a little too dated for me personally. And probably because I didn't grow up with it, I didn't have the nostalgia for it. But from what I heard, the game was amazing, and you know, it was gigantic. They're still working on. I followed the mod. If you guys know, Skywind. These guys have completely remade Skyrim. Is it? No. Morrowind in Skyrim, and that game is still going crazy. Huge fan base. Again, Bethesda still sells their game like crazy. Like, there's still a lot of love for them. They still have a huge reputation. So. Yeah.
As you continue to work on big RPGs that you want to appeal to a broad audience, but, you know, Bethesda does have that history of, you know, letting players be free in this world and determining their, you know, what happens with choice and consequence. So as you are building new games, you're still thinking of how to revolutionize the genre. How are you thinking about choice and consequence and creating friction for players in a way that is still enjoyable for a broad audience?
That's a good question. I don't know that I agree with the word friction. I think it depends on the definition. I think it's choices that are interesting, where you know you chose one path over another. And that can also just be in a character system, like how you develop a character. You know, who do you want to be out of the gate? I think Starfield, you know, take that as an example compared to what we've had before with the backgrounds, and hey, you're going to start with these skills, and you sort of come out and say, hey, this is the character I want to role play. And so there's a pretty healthy debate here, I'll say, with no right or wrong answer, in terms of, to have a different experience, to make a different character, at what point should you start over?
Very
and I
gray.
think that's where you can get into some
a lot
friction.
of rock.
Where Oblivion, this is remastered, when you play it again, it's a very clear game where you, a couple hours in, you're like, I think I chose wrong. And after Oblivion, I felt very strongly, I was seeing that a lot and thinking, I don't want that in my games. I don't want someone to be like, I made a mistake several hours ago and I have no way of correcting it, which is also why you see sort of the Skyrim system of, hey, you come out, you don't really pick a class. And even in Starfield or Fallout, you're sort of picking a starting point, but you can go in any direction. So if you feel you've made a mistake, you can still correct. There are other ways to do that also, where you get some scarcity. Right, in that Starfield is a game with a character system where you can eventually, it's long, you can eventually get it all. Whereas you look at a 76 with cards, there's a scarcity. A lot of games, you know, RPGs in particular, I think there are games out there do quite a good job with, like, the scarcity of builds.
Earlier, you were mentioning, you know, time from announcement to actual release, and how that's, like, something you're a little bit more conscious of now. You know, talk about the Elder Scrolls 6 reveal.
Just pretend we didn't announce it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you.
No one's heard a word.
And in 2019, last time I talked to you, like, Starfield was still a ways out, as imminent as it may have felt. You know, various factors happened between then and now. How do you feel about that now? Are you a little bit more conscious of what you share at what time?
Very much.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think, you know, I like to say I always start with, when you go and press play, you're about to play a game, like, what do you already know? What's in your head? What's your excitement level? What's your expectation?
I think them waiting this long to make a sequel too is also gonna really work against them. I don't know how the fuck. People are expecting so much at this point, dude. You really shouldn't have repackaged Skyrim a million billion fucking times.
Expectations, and I kind of back up from there. I prefer not to talk about stuff until I like to compress that moment, right? Where you hear about a game and you can play it. Those will be on top of each other if I had my way every time. That isn't
Probably
like
good.
necessarily the best thing to do with every game. Sometimes you need to inform people, and there's business considerations and et cetera, et cetera. You know, if you look back at this Fallout 76, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, you know, that was really around informing our audience, because when you're gonna do something new, everyone's gonna ask, like, what about Elder Scrolls 6? What about a single player game? And you know, we did it that way, but it's not my preference. I will say, look, we struggle with the balance, because, you know, our fans wanna know, they're amazing, and saying like, well, what are you doing? And so, well, I think they'd like to know, like, we're working on a lot of stuff. I think if you look at the scale of our studio, we could have 10 times the amount of people to do all this. We're doing so much, and it's just finding the right times to tell everybody about it. You look at Starfield today. I feel like the Starfield audience has been, what about us? You know, and we had sort of balance with like, hey, the end of the fall was like a Fallout, the TV show, everything we were doing, and we knew like, hey, we're just gonna save the Starfield stuff to give it its spotlight during this time.
We also talked about earlier the way Bethesda kind of scales as a project goes on, and as juxtaposing that with the many stories about AAA development being very long and being very expensive, and when people...
Dude, the amount of money that, again, that Elder Scrolls is going to cost them is going to be insane, bro. It's going to be... Because it has to be, because it has to last them. And if they don't, that's a huge mistake. Because they repackage these games a million times over. So it has to be very ballooned to some degree. Unfortunately, this is how these are. And they're a gigantic studio with Microsoft they're backing. So they know what's at stake. And it's their part of the reputation. So yeah, the budget's got to be fucking insane. It is a shame that he's not living out any details. A little bit more. Come on, just a little bit, man. People have been waiting in an astronomical amount of time. The trailer for which they panicked to release for the new Elder Scrolls released quite a while ago. So you got to put something.
Look at, you know, as we
mentioned,
mentioned,
it's a little too late to say let's hold it back now. You know, after you release a fucking trailer.
Announcement to release, it looks like that is such a long and expensive process. But you mentioned the way Bethesda scales it from pre-production to full production, and how that's, you know, maybe it's works for you guys within your scope. So can you, for the audience out there, kind of take us behind the scenes of how you're able to manage those kind of AAA expectations and some of your thoughts about how that has happened outside of Bethesda?
Yeah, for us, look, we've been fortunate that, you know, all the games that we've done, you know, have had big audiences, and many of them still have big audiences. Yeah. So our prime job is always serving the millions of people currently playing a game. And when we start a new game, we're usually going to start smaller, and we can have pre-productions. We'll call it for like 2 years, sometimes 3 years, with a smaller staff to make sure we know what we're doing before we put a lot of people on it. That might be not wasting time, but doing work where everybody feels this might get redone. Some of that is necessary when you're making a new game, particularly a new IP. Like, some of this work is going to get redone. We sort of want to minimize that, you know, do enough of that. And then once we have some runway, we've been fortunate to sort of balance, and then, you know, a lot of the team members and our partners outside are coming onto a game. Like, we're at that point with Elder Scrolls 6, where the bulk of the studio is on it. A lot of our partners are on it, and we know, hey, this is what we're doing. So that's a good place to get to. But, you know, a game like Fallout 76 going into its 67th update, you know, full team on that. So when you have these very popular kind of live games, that's new for us, having it to that scale. And balancing amongst that. We're in a good spot now, but, you know, that's been sort of trickier for us these last few years to maneuver.
Since we're on the topic of Elder Scrolls 6, what can you tell me about?
Nothing.
Where it's at?
I've never heard of it.
Bro!
I said pretend we never announced it.
Dude, oh my god, the last 2.5 fucking minutes, bro. Why would you do this?
From the lessons you learned in Starfield and how it's carrying over to Elder Scrolls 6. I know we asked that earlier, but, you know, due diligence and all that.
That's a fair question. Yeah. You should ask.
Yes.
I'll say what I say up there, because it's sort of a, you know, I don't want to I want to be careful what I say about Elder Scrolls 6 too, because I think everybody wants to know, and we want to find a time, obviously, that we'll talk about that in depth. But the one thing I'd say is really the tech. You know, as we're going to Creation Engine 3, again, the team has done a really incredible job at like not just pushing what it is, but how it's integrated into our development cycle. So you don't feel that what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, like the game goes down. So we're in a fortunate position where that's a game where, you know, the builds are really consistently working every day. Not every day, but more days than we've ever had, where the build is good, new stuff is in it, we can play it. And when you're making those kind of technical changes we talked about, often you're pulling the rug out from the team we're making content. Be like, okay, that doesn't work for this period of time. You have to wait till we get that working again. And we've done a really good job of managing that on this. And Starfield, we struggled there for a number of years in terms of when we went through the engine change.
Yeah. Massive update for Starfield. I imagine there's still more ideas in the works, and the roadmap is going to be long.
So big on leaning on, hey, Creation Engine 3 will be what really makes this game, which is true. Which is fair. But maybe something on the fucking gameplay? Maybe something on the game, please?
With
Bruh.
For the Starfield audience. So after this big update, what are you thinking for Starfield's future?
I could just say there's going to be more, right? Just like this process of here's all the things we want to do. Some of those may come out on their own. Some of those may be bundled together in a moment, but we have a list of what we're doing after this. We're excited about it just as well. So I just also want to say thanks, and thanks to our Starfield audience out there who's just given us so much great feedback, and you know, the millions playing it. We're just really, really fortunate with a new game like this.
If you want to catch up on everything that's happening over at Bethesda and Starfield and a little bit of Elder Scrolls.
Look, we learned a lot from Starfield. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. So, it is a shame we haven't gotten more, in my opinion. It's going to be them leaning. It's going to all really be dependent on Creation Engine 3, which is not, everyone wants to spell Doom. I've seen some people spelling Doom. It's not necessarily a negative thing. If they can really elevate the fucking gameplay that we're missing from what they expect next. What's the leap? We need some faster gameplay. We need some very engaging stuff going on. That's what we need. We need, you know, ways that the RPG mechanics really matter and the world feels alive. That's what it really needs at the end of the day. The Creation Engine, I don't think necessarily is a bad thing if they can get it to where it needs to explore that. So I don't want to spell Doom. I know there's limitations on every engine. I know everyone wants to get away from the RE engine, for instance, with Capcom, which is fair. But it's not like this. There is, if you have the right people working on it and they've learned from their things and they can really upgrade the engine, that alone wouldn't make me feel doom about the engine being still used for it. But the fact that we didn't get any spoilers for it, and at least a little bit of what they're planning to do, it's a little worrisome, but it also tells me that he's being they may be quite a ways out, and he doesn't want to get into it too much. But I kind of digress. Tell me what you guys think. What do you want from the new Skyrim? Oh my god, new Elder Scrolls. But I'm very excited. I'm hoping that I just want it to release it so modders get their hands on it. I would like it to be very good on release. I don't think it'll be as good as Skyrim, obviously. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Crazy. I'm going to put out my neck out there, but you know, it is what it is. Tell me, guys, what you guys think. Yeah, we'll see comments below, and I'll chat you up if you want to. Take it easy, guys. Bye.